For our top international story this hour, we take a moment to monitor the expanding reach of the British Empire. As this week, UK Secretary of Defence Gavin Williamson announced the UK plans to open a permanent military base on the Gulf nation of Oman during a visit to the Arabian Peninsula. Williamson said hundreds of British troops will move to a permanent training facility in the country in March. The disclosure came just days after local media reported Muscat and London signed a mutual defense agreement following talks between Williamson and his Omani counterpart. The meetings were held to coincide with Britain's Saif Sareea 3 war games in Oman. The drills are the largest UK military exercises to take place in almost 20 years. On Sunday, Secretary Williamson tweeted, quote, "I was delighted to spend time in Oman, and I thank the Royal Omani Army, Navy, and Air Force for their gracious hospitality. Saif Sareea embodies the close relationship between Oman and British forces, and I look forward to strengthening the important bond between our two nations." The new UK base will reportedly open after the UK leaves the European Union. Keep in mind, Williamson's Tory government, led by Prime Minister Theresa May, has yet to reach an agreement hashing out the terms of that exit. Over the weekend, a pro-Brexit demonstration in the city of Liverpool was interrupted by anti-fascist demonstrators.
This is a typical example of a decline in the economy. When we have a decline in the economy, we have a rise of fascist and racist committees, systems, procedures and structures. We need to be challenging that at every level.
With the UK empire in question, we're joined now by former UK Member of Parliament, George Galloway. All right, George, why is Oman key to U.S. interests in the Middle East? Why this base opening in that country specifically?
Well, don't ask, don't tell. You get 14 years in prison for gay sex in Oman. Female genital mutilation is widespread, rife, in fact. And Oman spends a higher proportion of its national income on defence than any other country in the world, even higher than yours or mine. So it's the obvious place for Britain to make a new friend. And the popinjay, Gavin Williamson, who couldn't fight his own way out of a paper bag, but is always threatening other people with violence, was there on top of that tank on your graphic, playing at being Margaret Thatcher. It's comic opera, really. It would make a good Gilbert and Sullivan light opera. It's Britain pretending to a role in the world on the edge of the desert in the Arabian Peninsula. We withdrew from east of Suez in 1968 when the Beatles were #1 in the hit parade, and the Beatles are 45 years dead. We're back. We're back in Bahrain. We're back now in Oman, where incidentally we fought a long war on behalf of the semi-literate Sultanate from 1962 to the early 1970s, crushing a popular liberation movement. Russia and China and Iraq were on the side of the rebels. Britain, the US and Israel were on the side of the Sultan.
Why is that, though, George? Is this something you believe British taxpayers support? Do they want to see the military in Oman?
I don't think so at all, and I think that if there's an incoming Labour government under Jeremy Corbyn, this base, however long it's been opened, will be promptly shut down. You know, there are 14,000 British soldiers, homeless, living on the streets in Britain, who were serenaded off to wars throughout the 90s and the first decade of this century, and are now living on the cold payments. This is a country that can't pay its collective electricity bill, where our old age pensioners are wondering how they're going to get through another bitter winter. And these people are burning money on the edge of the Arabian Peninsula. It would be absurd if it wasn't so obscene.
Well, the government says this base will open in March after a UK exit from the European Union. Are they not getting a bit ahead of themselves, considering May hasn't even reached a deal regarding Brexit yet? And why this focus on a shift to a focus on the Middle East after Brexit?
Yes, a focus on the Middle East and a focus on military. We should be focusing on how we will remake London as this cultural centre of the world when we leave the European Union. By the way, we are definitely leaving it in March, whatever happens, whether there's a deal or no deal. And that Brexit demonstration you showcased, I'm sorry to tell you, was a tiny demonstration of 24 of Britain's fascist contingent. And they didn't even get out of the railway station.
And yet those are the groups which have been, in the media at least, associated with Brexit, even though, as you've talked about many times, there is a broad base of the British working class which voted for that move. Just very briefly, if you have anything to say about that.
I was one of the leaders of the Brexit campaign, and you certainly wouldn't include me in their number. And in fact, it's been the traditional position of the British left and trade union movement to get out of the bankers' club that is the EU, and we're out of it in March, whatever happens.
At least Theresa May could work a little bit harder on getting those details hashed out. If she does anytime soon, we'll be talking about it then. Former UK MP George Galloway, thanks so much.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.